Hi, welcome back to the Fuzzy Files. I apologize for taking so long to get another video out. This video I had been planning to do, I just have put off because I didn't want to talk about it. And I feel like, okay, I can do it right now. So let's get going. I don't have anything prepared, but I'm just going to talk to you about the grief of losing a pet. This is not just for pet sitters, but also for pet owners. We all, if we love animals and we have pets, we're going to go through this. The odds are, I mean, sometimes people don't outlive their pets, but we've probably all had pets as a child that we lost, and we know what that's like, and it's terrible. So we have to understand that as a pet sitter, if you're like me, I did it for 30 years. So I definitely experienced the grief of losing other people's pets. And I worked as a vet tech for 4 years, and that was really difficult. I'll tell you one of the tricks that I used as a vet tech to not break down bawling when I had to assist with euthanasias. I would look up at the ceiling, I would look at the lights, I would think about other things, because if I thought about what we were doing, I mean, I had to stay focused enough to help the doctor. We have to help the doctor when they're doing this. But I just took myself out mentally because I didn't want to sit there and bawl in front of the client who was already crying because they were watching their pet take its last breath. And hopefully you'll never have to experience this for your clients' pets. But if you care enough to actually be with your pet at the end, you will experience that, heart-wrenching ending for them. Although they try to make it as peaceful as possible. I did have one incident that I had a client many years ago who had a cute little dog, and this cute little dog got liver cancer, and so she came to the decision that it was time to put the dog down, and she wanted me to give him a last walk. He could still walk, but she wanted him put down. And I understand, the dog had liver cancer, he wasn't doing well, but he could take a walk. So I took him for a walk, and she wanted me to drop him off at the vet and have him, that was that. And I just couldn't do it. I was going to stay with that dog to the end. And I did. And I have to say I was very, very unhappy with the veterinarian, because it was this woman who came in and she gave the poor thing a paralytic and then just left the room for 10 minutes. And the poor little dog didn't know what was going on. I know that when I was a vet tech, we just gave one big injection, and it was very quick. And that's how I think it should be. It should be as painless and free of suffering as possible. But so if you do ever have to do this, ask the vet what they do, and go somewhere else if they're going to tell you they're going to give them a paralytic and walk away. Anyway, sorry to share that, but that was a terrible experience, and I was very, very lucky in that I didn't have many bad experiences, and I never had a pet die because of anything I did, and they didn't just die on my watch either. I did have a situation, though, where I had a client who had a doggy door, well, a cat door, I guess you would say. She had 3 cats, and she was like, oh, well, they'll come back. Don't worry about it. Just come feed them, spend time if they're here, and so I did consent to that. And one time, after many years, I mean, they always came back for the most part, but after many years, one of the 3 cats just didn't come home while I was pet sitting. And that's bothered me for years. I mean, it probably would have happened, with her, but still, it's upsetting to think that one of them disappeared on your watch. And I will, at some point, talk about having a dog or cat door, and the fact that other animals will come in as well as the cats or dogs going out, just so you know. So we'll talk about that in another episode. There was that, and the really, really bad one, unfortunately, that's the reason I've been putting off talking about this. It still haunts me. It's still upsetting. There was a beautiful kitty that I used to take care of, an orange kitty. Her mom adored her. I would go over there and she had an electric fireplace and she'd ask me to turn the fireplace on when I was there so the cat could go up and enjoy the heat. And the cat would always go up on the hearth when I turned it on, and she'd just sit there the entire time just enjoying the heat. I mean, other times she'd be on my lap, but she just loved it. And so when I got ready to go, I had to turn off the fireplace, and I just hated to see that little forlorn look in her eye. Like, where's the heat going? And then when I turned it off, she'd put her little paw up on the grate, and she'd just like sadly watch the flames die. But she was adorable, and I really loved her. And she also had the nickname of the Queen that the owner and I would write back and forth about, because she was treated like a queen. But one of the things that the owner did was she did not want to begrudge the cat the opportunity to get fresh air, and she would let her go outside on her driveway. And the driveway in the front of the house, there's no fence or anything, and it was close to a road and a sidewalk, but she never went off the driveway. She was always on the driveway. And then at night, my client would ask the cat to come in, and the cat would come in, they'd go to bed, and everything was good. Well, one night, the cat didn't want to come in. And after a few minutes, she just decided, you know what, if you want to stay out, okay. And she went to bed, and the cat stayed out all night. And that next morning, I was driving home from an orthodontist appointment, and I was not in a great mood, and I was in pain. But I got a phone call, and I didn't answer it. I let it go to voicemail because I was driving. And then when I got to a chance to stop, I listened to the voicemail, and it was my client, and she was just beside herself with grief. She found her little kitty, her precious little kitty, deceased on the driveway. And I could tell that she needed comfort, and I immediately drove to her house, and the cat, she had found her in a puddle of blood, and she didn't know what happened, and she was too distraught to even try to find out. So I did check the cat, and there were 2 puncture marks on the side, and I guess either a dog or a coyote or some animal came up probably while she was sleeping and decided to take a chunk. And I don't know if she probably woke up, but I mean, she just basically laid there and bled out, and it was awful. And I helped the client, take care of the final remains and everything. It was terrible, but I felt good that I was able to be there for her at that time. And I think as a pet sitter, you need to try to set aside whatever you're doing, unless it's really, really important, when you get a call like that, and try to be of comfort to someone, because it's the human thing to do. And we grieve our own pets, and we know what it's like. And you want to try to be there. It's not in the job description, but it's something we should do as human beings, to be there and to comfort someone. And if the client calls you and says, my pet died, let them talk. Give them the opportunity to talk about their pets and comfort them, whether it's on the phone or in person. Occasionally, a pet might need to be put down, and the clients may very kindly ask you if you want to come and be there with the family during that time. And I did get those invitations. I got one, and I just couldn't do it. I had recently quit pet sitting for them, and I loved that dog, and I wanted to remember that dog the way that I had last seen him. But I thought about him a lot. Sometimes you can do it, and sometimes you can't. Understand that the owners will think of you as an extension of the dog's or cat's family, and even theirs sometimes, and they, understand that you have an attachment to their pet. So it's very much a kindness if they ask you if you want to come for their last breath. You just want to try to be as kind as you can be. And if you do attend something like that, try to keep yourself together as much as you can. I mean, of course, we're human, and we get upset. But it's always important to recognize it's their pet, and that they're suffering the loss more than anyone, and that you need to try to hold yourself together to comfort them whenever possible. As for yourself, when I worked as a vet and I would try to hold it together during the euthanasia, I would go home at night and just cry over the pets. This is why I didn't want to do this video. So, excuse me. I remember reading a book a long time ago called Merle's Door. The book was a little bit eye-opening and it made me understand more. And sometimes people want to let their pets outside because they feel like they're giving them a more rich life. This made me think of Miss Kitty, and it was about a golden retriever that lived in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and the owner had a doggy door and they would let the dog roam, and this dog had a routine. It went from place to place to place, greeting people it knew. Some people would give him treats, and they started calling him the mayor of Jackson Hole. I mean, and I actually met my neighbors years ago who live across the street from me because they had a little cat named Mickey that they would let, run around, and Mickey was called the mayor of my neighborhood. It can be really, really cute, although cats in general, it's not good to let them loose because, even if it's not illegal, because they decimate the bird population, and this is a bad thing. But I understand the impulse to want to let your pets run free, but there is a risk to their life. In Merle's Door, the dog had a very enriched life. But at the same time, you have to recognize not everybody likes dogs. If your dog is out running around loose, it could get hurt by a person who is afraid of dogs. It could be taken by someone who thinks it's a loose dog and they want a pet. And of course, it can get hurt or killed. So I don't recommend it, but I do understand the impulse. And the impulse comes from love. It really does. I mean, it's a tough thing. I personally would not let my cats go out for any reason, but at the same time, I do understand I wouldn't want to live in four walls for the rest of my life either. We want to keep them safe. You wouldn't let your kids go out and play in traffic, so you certainly wouldn't want to do the same with your pets. But anyway, that's just a subject for debate between people, but I don't want to, that's not what this video is about. It's about the grief of losing a pet. And sometimes it's because they were out and they, had to deal with what can kill you when you're out, but sometimes they just die, and sometimes they die in the house because of a safety issue. Like a cat can eat string or something and get a bowel obstruction, or a plant that you didn't realize was poisonous or something. If you really want to keep your pets safe, there's so many things to worry about that can do them, and even inside. Regardless, if the worst happens and a pet is lost, you just do what you can do to comfort yourself and comfort the client, and just try to be as kind as possible, be as human as possible. There are pet bereavement places that are recommended and sometimes run like a pet bereavement counseling session with people who've lost their pets, for grief counseling basically. But do whatever you have to do to make sure that you take care of yourself, because you can't be of any good to your clients if you're not taking care of your own mental health. And it is hard. When you pet sit, you may have a lot of clients. You may be busy all the time. You may not even be able to stop and take off for the holidays or a weekend. And you may also have to work right after you've put your own pet down. And I had that happen one time, and it was so difficult, but we do what we have to do. One time I went to a client interview the same day that I had put my cat down, and they had a cat, and I thought I could handle it. And within 10 minutes, I'm bawling in their living room. Fortunately, they understood, because they were cat people, and it was nice. But just try to make sure that you have yourself together so you can be of help to other people. And that's really what this video is about. It's about understanding that we all go through it. If we love our animals, most of the time we're going to outlive them. And like George Carlin made a comment about, you're buying a tiny little tragedy basically when you get a pet. Understand that they are just awesome, and we are so lucky and blessed to have them for whatever time period that we do. And that's the thing with life. Everything in life is fleeting. Everything in life disappears, including us. But while we are here and we have the chance to love our people and our fuzzy friends, we have to appreciate that time, and we have to understand that that time is going to end at some point, and just try to handle it the best way we can, and understand that life goes on, and that, when you're ready down the road, there's another pet out there that needs you, and that will need your client as well when they lose their pets. So take care of yourselves and your fuzzy buddies. I'm sorry if this was a depressing video, but it's just something I felt like I needed to talk about. And if you have any questions about how to handle the grief of your own pet loss or your clients, please leave that in the comments section. And I'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. Take care. Talk to you next time. Bye.